I really want to hone in on and talk about is just the importance, as Antoinette was saying, we're headed into the new year. We're in mid-November, going into the holiday season, preparing for 2023. And I know for many of us, we set New Year's resolutions and goals. And so knowing that this is coming up, I want to talk about the importance of adjusting and making sure that our mindsets are in a good place so that we are set up and in the best position to actually achieve our goals and fulfill and accomplish the resolutions that we plan on setting in the upcoming months. Have a pen and paper. What I want to do is open up by just doing some, taking some time to reflect on how your 2022 was. So if you have paper, just kind of write some things down, because I want you to think back on this year. What was your 2022 like? I want you to answer some of the questions that I'm going to put out here. One, I just want you to answer the question, did you actually set clear intentions and goals going into 2022? Or did you kind of approach the year with an attitude of, well, what happens, happens. I hope things go well. Or were you very clear in setting your intentions and goals? Did you write down your goals going into this year? And if you wrote down your goals, did you actually have a strategy and an action plan to achieve them? And when I say a strategy and a plan, I mean, did you actually break it down and say, okay, if this is what I want to accomplish throughout the year, then this is what I need to do each month. This is what I need to accomplish each week, and even breaking it down by each day. What do I need to be doing in order for at the end of the year to make me able to say that I accomplished my goal or I achieved my resolution? And then if you were creating your plans and your goals and setting your intentions, did you think about what are the supports that I will actually need in order to accomplish this goal? And am I willing to invest in making sure that I have the type of supports that I need to accomplish my goals? So I want you to take a minute and just think back on your 2022, think back on the goals that you set, think back on the ones that you accomplished and the ones that you didn't accomplish. And while you're doing that, I'm just going to share some stats with you concerning New Year resolutions and goals. So concerning New Year resolutions, some stats is that 25% of the 41%, so let me back up, 41% of Americans actually set New Year resolutions and goals. And of those 41%, 25% fail after just 1 week. Nearly 30% fail after just 2 weeks, 36% after just 1 month, and over half of the people who set New Year resolutions fail to accomplish their goal or stick to their resolution 6 months in. According to a 2018 study, only 9% of people who set resolutions successfully keep them. And so the question that I like to ask is why? Like, why are people failing to keep their goals? Why are people struggling to keep their resolutions? And what they found when they asked folks, some of the common reasons given for why they didn't or weren't able to keep their resolutions were 23% of people responded by saying they just forgot that they even made the resolution. So going into the new year, we know that it's important to keep those goals at the forefront of our minds, right? It's so easy to put them on the back burner and forget that we even said we were going to do something. So that's 23%. And then you have 1 out of 10 people say that they failed to achieve their resolution or accomplish their New Year goals because they felt like they just took on too much. They set too many resolutions, which makes sense. And then 35% of those who failed to achieve their New Year resolutions and goals, and this was the largest percentage of people, said that the goals that they set were just simply unrealistic. So some of the reasons why people are breaking their New Year resolutions is because they're not setting SMART goals, those specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-sensitive goals. Some of it is that people are just forgetting. They're not keeping it at the forefront of their minds. But what I want to talk with you about tonight is just the role that mindset plays in actually being able to fulfill and achieve your New Year resolutions. And specifically, what I want to focus in on tonight is something that's called upper limit syndrome. For those of you who have ever read the book, The Big Leap, then you're probably familiar with upper limit syndrome. It's hard for me to see everyone as I'm sharing my screen, but has anyone read the book, The Big Leap?
I haven't. I haven't heard of it.
It's such a good book, but it talks about the upper limit syndrome. And that's what I want to focus in on tonight, is just what is the role that upper limit or limiting beliefs, what role does that play in our ability to achieve our goals? So for those who aren't familiar, which it sounds like this book, The Big Leap, is probably new to most people on the call, I just want to go through and clearly define for you what upper limit syndrome is. A good way to think about upper limit syndrome is it is a self-imposed glass ceiling. It is the limit of happiness, love, and success that you will allow yourself to feel. And once you exceed your upper limit, you will likely do things to self-sabotage and to bring yourself back down to that limit that you've set on yourself, that you've self-imposed. The idea behind upper limit syndrome is that many of us have a limited tolerance for feeling good. When we reach our upper limit, we'll begin to manufacture thoughts that will cause us kind of distress, and we'll take actions to self-sabotage and bring us back down under that limit. So that's the idea of upper limit syndrome. Like there's a set point that we have that is completely self-imposed. And when we start to go beyond that, we begin to take actions and do things to bring us down. And so just to kind of help to illustrate what exactly does this look like in our day-to-day lives, I want to share some examples with you of what upper limit syndrome can look like. One of the best examples, or like easiest ways to get people to understand what this looks like practically, is that anybody who's ever been on a weight loss journey knows about this whole idea of your body having a set point. Set point is basically, it's that weight, it's that size that you're most comfortable at. And you can change your diet, you can modify your fitness, and maybe for a while, maybe for 1 week, 2 weeks, even 4, 6, 12 weeks, you will begin to lose weight like clockwork, maybe 1 pound each week, 2 pounds each week, and the weight will just come off. But when your body reaches a set point, it will become extremely difficult for you to move past a certain number, because that's the point that your body is comfortable with, and it doesn't want to let that go. And unless you do something extreme to kind of jar or shock your body, whether it be a cleanse or it be a fast or something, it will be hard for you to move past that set point. So most people who have been on a weight loss journey understand it. Some people call it a plateau, some people call it a set point, but that's the idea of it. It's just you reach a point where it's hard to break through and move past. And so I use that example to help people to really get a clear visual of what upper limit syndrome and an upper limit looks like in our lives. Upper limit basically says that it's not just our physical bodies that have these set points or upper limits, but we can see upper limits in many different areas of our lives, whether it be our businesses, our career, finances, relationships. It can manifest and it can show up in many different ways. And so some other examples of even what it may look like in our finances, for instance, or in our businesses, what you may see is that you'll find yourself making more money, bringing in more clients, and then all of a sudden you'll start to engage in behavior that will kind of self-sabotage. So for instance, on your job, or let's use the example of businesses, you start bringing in more clients and you're excited about bringing in more clients. So you're like, okay, I'm going to get up earlier and work harder. I'm going to work a little bit later because I want to satisfy these new clients. I'm excited about the influx of business that I'm experiencing. But as a result of waking up earlier, working longer hours, you're no longer taking care of yourself. You're no longer implementing those day-to-day routines, whether it be journaling in the morning, working out in the evening, whatever it is, you're starting to neglect actually taking care of yourself. And then you feel yourself getting more tired and burned out, and you decrease your capacity to really serve those additional clients. And you find yourself going right back to where you were before you saw the influx and growth. That's an example of how upper limit syndrome may show up in your life. Another example that I like to give people that I feel like most people have heard of, or at least are familiar with, is the fact that with lottery winners, it doesn't matter if they win $500 million or $1 million, 70% of lottery winners, they lose or spend all of the money that they have won within 5 years. And some people can dismiss that and say, well, it's because they were maybe in poverty before winning the lottery, and therefore they didn't know how to manage their money. But the reality is the average salary of a person who plays the lotto is between $36,000 a year and $90,000 a year. So these are not individuals who just never had any money. If you're making $75,000, $80,000, $90,000 a year, You've had the opportunity to manage money and funds, but those individuals still are coming right back down to where they were within 5 years, 70% of the time. And I would say and point to, it's probably an upper limit concerning their finances. They feel comfortable operating at a certain financial level. And when they got beyond that, you start to do things to self-sabotage, whether it's engaging in contentious behavior that results in you getting sued, or not operating in a way that honors your integrity, that results in you putting yourself at risk of being sued and losing your money, or you engage in reckless behavior that may result in you losing your money. But on a subconscious level, you're doing things to bring yourself back to that set point. So those are some examples of upper limit syndrome. I also want to acknowledge that sometimes it's hard for us to recognize when upper limit syndrome is at play with us, because some of us have really high upper limit syndromes, right? But I do want to say that even if your upper limit syndrome concerning your business is maybe earning and generating a 6-figure business, if that's your limit, you can have a 6-figure upper limit or a set point, right? So sometimes it's hard because some of us operate with high upper limits than others. So we can look at it and say, well, I don't really struggle badly financially. I'm not in poverty. I'm not in a horrible relationship or anything like that. Things are going pretty okay in my career. And it can be easy to dismiss the idea that you may have an upper limit. So I want to share with you some of the other ways that upper limit syndrome manifests itself in individual lives. So one of the things that is really clear is when people worry excessively. I always feel bad for people who struggle with worrying, because I feel like it's just one of the worst things if you get into the habit of being someone who worries excessively. But worrying is a sign that upper limit syndrome may be manifesting itself in your life. And the reason why, because worrying is literally you just manufacturing thoughts to steal your peace, to steal your joy, to cause you to get into a state of anxiety and turmoil. Because it's one thing to recognize, okay, there's a problem, and I need to think through, if this problem potentially arises, what will I do? And to say, if this happens, I'll do A or I'll do B. That's one thing when you're being very solution oriented. But it's another thing when you're just allowing doom and gloom scenarios to turn over in your mind constantly, and you're not even allowing yourself to really think through possible solutions. So if you find yourself, or if you know this about yourself, that you're an excessive worrier, question, like, is it because I've put a limit on just the amount of peace and content that I can experience in my life, and I begin to generate these worrying thoughts in order to make me feel comfortable with being uneasy and anxious? So that's one of the ways that upper limit syndrome manifests itself in people's lives. It's just like that excessive worrying. Another way is just you find yourself escalating conflict that really just doesn't need to be escalated. I think we've all heard stories where someone will say, okay, this person got a little promotion and the power went straight to their head, and now they're doing all these things to kind of demonstrate that they're in control, that they're the one that's the boss or whatever. And sometimes when we see that in people, what's manifesting is their upper limit. They've received a promotion, they've elevated in their career, and there's some insecurity behind it. And as a result, they're even unknowingly trying to self-sabotage to bring them back to a comfort zone where they're comfortable at. And so they'll find themselves behaving in ways that will either, one, result in them being demoted, or it will ensure that they won't get promoted because of the way that they're dealing with their colleagues and coworkers. So it's like the escalating of conflict unnecessarily. If you find yourself doing that professionally, and even sometimes in relationships, whether it be familiar relationships, romantic relationships, relationships with children, if you find yourself like, okay, now, because this happens a lot, people will have a big win at work and then find that things in their family start to fall apart, whether it be now their child is misbehaving or things are going wrong with their partner. And it's because maybe they've started to neglect or escalate things in that area. You have to be mindful of that kind of stuff when you recognize those patterns in your life, because what could be happening is that you kind of set a limit for the amount of like success and happiness that you can experience. So when you have this big win at work, there's something operating in you subconsciously that's saying, we just had this big win, but I got to bring myself down, and you'll start to maybe escalate conflict or something in another area of your life. So being aware of those type of patterns when you see it. Last thing that I'll just point out is just like a breach of integrity. So you'll see this even with some of the most powerful people in the world. They'll reach the highest levels of power. We've seen it where presidents commit these breach of integrities and indiscretions, and it ends up resulting in their entire legacy being tainted. And you just wonder why, like, why did you do that? Like, it doesn't even make logical sense for you to have done it. But sometimes when you reach like your peak, you'll do, again, I keep saying it, you do things even on a subconscious level just to bring yourself back down to your comfort zone and what you're used to operating at. So those are just some other ways that you can just kind of recognize that upper limit syndrome may be operating in your life. I want to talk about, you know, as I kind of begin to close, what are some ways to actually overcome your upper limit syndrome? And so one of the ways to overcome is just becoming hyper aware of when your upper limit syndrome may begin to show itself. And so what I mean by that is you want to become aware of like, how does this manifest itself in my own life? Like, am I the type of person when I get a promotion, when I take on new clients, I then not start to neglect my own personal self-care, and I end up burning out and wearing myself out? Is that something that I'm inclined to do? Become aware of it. In your own personal relationships, am I someone after 3 months or 6 months will start to kind of escalate conflict unnecessarily, or start to comparing my situation in order to kind of make me discontent with the situation? Is that something that you do? When it comes to your health, are you the kind of person that will go strong for 4 or 5 days, maybe even a week, and then you just kind of lose control and you self-sabotage and get completely off of your plan, your fitness journey, your eating routine, whatever it may be? Are you someone that you may get a 5% raise, and then before you even get the raise, you're beginning to overspend so that you never really see the fruit of your pay increase? Become hyper aware of your patterns so that you can begin to address them. So that would be the first thing in overcoming upper limit syndrome. And I will even share my own personal example. I recently was promoted on my job. I think Antoinette mentioned, like, I work for the federal government, and in my job, I received a promotion recently. And going into that promotion, I did have that mentality of like, okay, like, it's more responsibility and I want to do well. And I think all of us go into a new job, you want to do an excellent, you want to perform in an excellent way. And so I noticed that, like, I was logging in earlier, I was working longer hours, and I had to recognize that, like, I see your pattern, Charmaine, and you'll burn out and you'll stop performing optimally. And it's a way of almost pulling yourself back down to performing at a level that you're comfortable at. But if you want to keep performing at a high level, you need to build in a break. And so I did something that is very outside of my character. I ended up taking a day off within my first 2 months of being promoted. And the sole reason for me taking that day off was just to rest, just to take care of myself. And that is something that I normally would not do. But it really benefited me because so many of my coworkers, we were going into a stretch where we would have worked 7 days straight. And so many of my coworkers were like, well, I'm just going to come in an hour or two late on Monday and I'll be just fine. But I made the decision to take that Monday off. 3 of my coworkers became very ill and were out for days after that. But it really paid dividends for me to just take that one day off and rest and take care of myself. And I was able to keep performing at a high level. But I had to recognize this is how upper limit syndrome manifests itself in my world. When I go to a next level, I want to keep pushing myself instead of actually incorporating the rest that I need. So recognizing, becoming aware of how it manifests in your own life. Second thing is really work to clearly identify what are the fears or the lies or untrue thoughts that are holding up your upper limit. So it may be in your business, you're scared to invest what you really need to invest in your business in order to grow. Whether that be a program, mentoring program, classes, training, conferences that you just aren't willing to make the additional investment in. in order to take your business to the next level, because you're dealing with scarcity mentality, feeling like if I spend it, then I'll lose and I won't have it. And what if this goes wrong? And what if that goes wrong? It's a scarcity mentality. It's the lie that if you invest in yourself, one, you're not worthy of investing in. And then two, if you do invest in yourself, you're not a good investment and you won't yield the fruit of investing in yourself. So address those lies, really get to the root of like, what is causing me to hit this limit, this glass ceiling? What are the lies that I'm believing? Third thing that I would say when it comes to overcoming your upper limit syndrome is once you identify the lies, the fears that's upholding that limit, what you want to do is speak truth to it and then recommit to your progression. So I'll use a very light example, but at the beginning of the year, one of the things that I said, like a resolution or goal that I set for myself, is that I was going to learn how to swim. And as you can see, I'm not a little kid. So like I'm a full-grown adult and I don't know how to, or let me say, I didn't know how to swim this time last month, right? Didn't know how. And so I said, okay, this year I'm going to learn how to swim. And I started taking classes. And my first class, I was horrible. Absolutely. I was like the worst student in the class. It was a really bad first class. And so I had to kind of immediately identify like, all right now I'm feeling very discouraged and I want to kind of just shrink and be like, you know what, Charmaine, like you aren't the most coordinated person, never really been athletic. This may not be your thing. And there were thoughts that were creeping in that were telling me after 6 weeks, you're not going to get this. And what I had to do is kind of address the fear. And for me, the fear was what was true in the past is going to be true in the future. So for me, it was like, well, if it was true in the past that, maybe I haven't been the most athletic or coordinated person, I don't have to believe that what was true in the past and my past experiences are going to dictate what happens in the future. And so after that first class, I was really discouraged, but I made up in my mind that the truth that I was going to speak to that lie was that, you know what, my goal is not to be Michael Phelps, but what I can do is put in the work and practice and grow. And as I practice and I put in the work, I will progress, I will get better, and I will eventually learn how to do this. And I made the decision that in between my lessons, I would go to the Y and I would practice the different techniques or whatever skill that they taught us in the class. I would put in that extra work. And I made the choice to believe I would grow and I would progress. And to toot my own horn, after 6 weeks, it's been a little, well, not even 6 weeks, it's been a little bit less than a month now. Of the students in the class, I'm one of the 2 students who are actually swimming now. So I start off being the absolute worst.
Congratulations.
To being one of the 2. Yes, they can swim. But it took recognizing what fears are holding up this limit that I put on myself as far as like what I can physically do. And then actually speaking some truth to it to kind of bust past that upper limit. And then the last thing that I will say that helps, really, really helps with expanding what you believe is possible and going beyond your limit is really embracing gratitude. And this is something that's commonly said, but I'm going to share with you just even how the brain and the mind works. Our brain, in my mindset coaching, I do a lot with neuroscience and studying literally how does the brain work? How does it function? How is it designed to function? And I tell people there's a lot of different ways that you can think of your brain, but one of them is like your personal assistant. You tell your brain what to be on the lookout for, what to be paying attention to. And once you do, your brain will begin to work for you. So when I talk about leaning into gratitude, it's about adopting a different mindset. So you can have the mindset of, well, it's just always one thing after another, or I knew it was too good to be true, or I'm waiting on the other shoe to drop. Right? And if you tell your brain that, because we communicate to our brains in a variety of ways, it can be what we meditate on, what we say, what we write down, but we're constantly communicating to our brains. And our brains, it's like they're like an executive assistant, and they're also like that girlfriend that's going to agree with you no matter what. The brain is constantly looking for ways to confirm what you believe about yourself. So if you believe it's always one thing after another, then your brain is going to be looking for things in your life to confirm It is always one thing after another. See, this went wrong and that went wrong and this went wrong. If you believe I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop, your brain is going to be on high alert, looking for that next negative thing to happen. Why? Because you told your brain, this is what I believe, this is what I'm looking for. And your brain's like, got it. We're looking for the next bad thing to happen. Let me scan and look for it. It's similar to the exercise some people have probably done where you'll close your eyes and the person will say, open your eyes and look for all the different red objects. And you scan the room and you are able to pick out all the different red objects. And then you close your eyes again and they say, okay, now tell me how many blue objects you saw. It's like your brain wasn't even looking for the blue objects because you told your brain to focus on the red ones. It's the same thing here. If you tell your brain, focus on looking for the bad things so that you can confirm to me that it is always one thing after another, that things are always too good to be true, then your brain's going to say, got it. Let's look for all the bad things to confirm that belief. But if you lean into gratitude, you can then begin to train your brain. One of the things that I like to say very often is when something good happens, I've really moved from ever saying like, it just seemed too good to be true, or I couldn't believe it. And I often will say, the better it gets, the better it gets. And I'm training my brain that when something good happens, look for something else good to happen. Expect it. And your brain will begin to point out to you the little blessings, the little things that are good. But you have to begin to communicate to your brain to see these things. What it's called is it's the RAS, it's your reticular activating system within your brain. And that's why your brain functions that way. When you communicate to your brain through journaling, through affirmations, through what you meditate on, through what you truly believe about yourself, your brain almost serves as a filtering system, that reticular activating system within your brain. It serves as a filter. And what it does is when you tell your brain to look for something, it's going to filter out the other things, and it's going to cause you to hone in on those things that you told your brain to look for. And so it's the reason why you may have a friend that you might consider to be a negative Nancy, and that person literally cannot see all the blessings and good things in their life. They literally can't. And you could easily list a laundry list of things that they have to be grateful for. But if that person is constantly telling their brain, screen out the good, focus on the negatives, then that's what their brain is going to focus on. And then you have super positive people that you may look at their lives and think like, wow, girl, like you got a lot going on. But if they've told their brain, like, I need you to filter and focus in on the good and the positive, then that's what their brain is constantly going to be showing them. They're the kind of people that will rejoice because they found a parking spot, right? And it would be like, I'm having a great day because I found a parking spot near the store. And it's because they've told their brain, I want you looking for all the things that I can be grateful and excited for. It's how the brain works and it's how the brain functions. These are the type of things that I go into more detail about, how that reticular activating system works in the brain and how you can do a better job of communicating to your brain in order to change your mindset. But in short, it's the gratitude, leaning into gratitude. It helps to really build your upper limit where, you know, before, if you're thinking, okay, I have this limit on what I can do in my business. If you have the mentality of like, no, the better it gets, the better it gets. The more clients I get, the better equipped I am to handle those clients. I'm going to serve them well, and I'll get even more clients. Your brain will step up and respond to that and say, okay, like you feel that way. I'm going to start showing you and highlighting throughout your day resources, trainings, people that can assist you with actually offering better service to your clients and growing in your business. Your brain will work for you in that way, but you have to learn how to, it's the book that Antoinette was talking about, switch on your brain and start talking to your brain so that your brain is operating at its optimal level to assist you with achieving your goals, versus your brain can also, based on what you're feeding your brain and talking to your brain, work against you. If you're saying, I'm never able to do this, it never works out, your brain's going to begin to show you these are all the reasons why you need to give up, why this is not going to work for you. So those are some of the ways to overcome your upper limit syndrome. I'll end basically by saying that, you know, going into 2023, I think all of us could use really investing in developing strategies to overcome our upper limit syndrome, to establish good, healthy habits, to address unhealthy thought patterns, to change the way that we view ourselves, the way that we think about ourselves, knowing that our brains love to confirm what we secretly believe, knowing that should encourage all of us to start checking what we choose to believe about ourselves and situations and life, because our brain is designed to confirm. Our brain is designed to be that girlfriend that's always telling you, yes, girl, you were right. Absolutely. Like your brain's designed to confirm those things. So knowing that, that's why it's so important to invest and to check the way that you're thinking. And what mindset coaching does, it can literally change the physical makeup of your brain. Anyone who knows anything about neuroscience knows that there's neural pathways that are formed as a result of our thoughts and the way that we think. Like literally the physical makeup of our brains are formed by our thought patterns. And when we have certain patterns of thoughts, it creates pathways. I like to think of it as almost like if you go to an amusement park and you see one of those like water slides, you don't have to do much. You get on one of those water slides, they're slippery, and you're just going to slide straight down to the bottom. That is how I like to think of our neural pathways, that if you get into the habit of constantly thinking a certain way, you're forming a pathway, and it doesn't take too much to trigger you into thinking and going down the pathway of that neural pathway that has been formed. And so I give this example because I think people can maybe relate to it really easily. If you have it in your mind that in a romantic relationship that all men cheat, right? All men cheat. That's something that's just a pathway that's been ingrained in your mind. It can be you in a perfectly good relationship, and if the person, picks up their phone and puts it face down, that one little action, because that pathway is deeply ingrained in your brain, will cause you to take that one action and turn it into your partner's having a full-blown affair. When the reality may be they put the phone down because they want to be fully present with you. And it's not because they're hiding an affair. But if that pathway is deeply ingrained in your mind, you have to do something to disrupt it so that one little trigger doesn't send you down that path. Those are the type of things that we explore in mindset coaching, helping you to understand what paths have you already formed through decades of thinking a certain way, whether it's in order for me to succeed in my business, I have to outwork everybody. This kind of like hustler mentality, right? Like I have to be exhausted. I have to wear myself out. If that's something that you've adopted, your life will confirm that, right? You will be burned out and feel like you have to burn yourself out anytime you want to go to the next level. But there are people who prosper in their business who do not feel like they have to burn themselves out and wear themselves thin in order to get ahead. So it's about, you want to identify what paths and what thoughts have been ingrained in your brain, and you got to work on disrupting that and forming new pathways in your mind. And those are some of the things that mindset coaching does, along with teaching you how to effectively communicate to your brain. So again, your brain is working for you. So that's what I'll close with, is just going into 2023. These are some of the things that we have to just be intentional about addressing when it comes to our mindsets. And just encouraging to take the time to invest in making sure that your thoughts and the way that you're viewing things are healthy and that they're helping you to progress towards your goals. So I'm going to stop sharing and open it up. Whoops. Here we go. Stop sharing and open it up and see if there's any questions.
And let me start, because I want to add something, because Charmaine, I thought what you said was so powerful. And I've had conversations with ladies who, they believe that, how some people, you look at their lives and you think that they're just so blessed, everything just happens perfectly for them. I've even heard the term that people say, oh, he or she's just anointed and it's going to work out anyway. Mm-hmm. And so what you're bringing to life, the fact that we have to, it's almost like the laws of attraction. We have to train our minds to see, to kind of work on our behalf. And that's a lot of times we don't really think in that way. So we don't think about how we can really, and when you think about, even from a business perspective, from success, you're not thinking about how to train your mind to think for you. It's like having that little person in your corner saying, this is not going to work out. This is not great. So you almost have to go back and readjust so that little voice that's always echoing, letting you know everything's wrong, and understanding, like, I think with mindset coaching, and that's why I thought this was so important, because from WeOp, we want things to support the success of entrepreneurs. So the mind goes along with that, because I can't tell you how many times I hear entrepreneurs saying, I never thought about that. But if you start having your mind work for you to the positive, then that really attributes to your business success. And that's why I think having you in and looking at figuring out the pain points for some of our entrepreneurs and having these in-depth conversations about is not only just business success, it's mental success, and how we can introduce that to our clientele, because we know economically is a very difficult time, but how we can all get to that together. So I really enjoyed, and I wanted to know the author of the book, The Big Leap, because I wanted to include that as a resource for everyone on the call. Who is the author of that particular book?
Let me look it up right now, because I have it on my Audible list.
Okay.
And I'll get the author, but I know that the title is The Big Leap, and it is by Gay Hendricks.
Gay Hendricks.
But you're exactly right. I really
Oh, wait a minute. I think Andre, you have the book?
Oh, you do.
Okay.
Perfect. Yep.
In fact, you can share your perspectives. How far did she read the entire book, and how far has it kind of, you haven't? You haven't?
It's worth finishing. It's a really
what about any parts?
I just got it.
Oh, nice. Well, this is confirmation to read it.
So what motivated you to get it? And that you just, have you read any of it? And you could kind of share your personal motivation for.
I'm in another CEO class, and it was suggested. Every time someone suggests books, I order them right then. And she suggested it was a good book.
Okay.
So I got it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Charmaine, is that in part of your mindset coaching, is that, do you have a recommended reading that everybody? Okay.
Yeah, we have I call it our book club. So with the mindset coaching, whenever I'm working with a client, I have them go through 5 weeks of mindset coaching, because I feel like it's necessary to lay a good foundation. Because when people come in and they say, well, I want to set these goals in my business or these goals in my career, and we just jump right into goal setting and working on those goals, almost inevitably there's things that come up as far as like unhealthy thought patterns and mindsets that they have, that they may be progressing toward their goals after the first 2, 3, 4 sessions. And then all of a sudden they hit something where they start procrastinating, or they get stuck, and it ends up being a mindset issue. And so that's why I always suggest with any client that I work with, let's go through the 5 weeks of mindset coaching. And then let's start focusing on your specific goals around finances, business, health, whatever it may be. Because like I said, I feel like it lays a good foundation. But during that 5 weeks, we read Dr. Caroline Leaf's book that you referenced, Antoinette, at the beginning, Switch on Your Brain. She also has a Rewire Your Brain book. And what it does is it lays a good foundation for people to understand literally how their brains work, how the brain is designed. So I start off there, and then at the end, I also give them a list of books that help them with to address different mindsets or unhealthy thought patterns that they may be experiencing. But yeah, I do believe that it's one thing for me to teach you on a book that I've read, but you may get something completely different out of it reading it firsthand and taking it in yourself. So I always encourage people that I work with, even if you just get it on Audible, there's a lot of audio books on YouTube that you can literally just listen to for free, but consume the books and the knowledge firsthand yourself versus letting someone else, spoon feed you what they've taken the time to learn.
Okay, I noticed Lakeela showing on her camera, so I know she has something that she wants to add in. She's always insightful. So Lakeela, I'm gonna turn it over to you. You're in that thinking mode.
Thank you. No, I always appreciate hearing Charmaine share her thoughts and her insights. And I completely agree. I think that mastering mindset is one of the most important things that any of us can do. And it does, it does relay into all areas of our lives. So I was just kind of chuckling to myself, Charmaine, when you made the example about parking, because the WeOp event that we had at Georgia Tech, when I saw it was a Georgia Tech, I was like, oh, parking's gonna be a headache. And it was. I got Camille and I tangled up in the parking deck. And I said, why did I do that to myself? So the next event that we had down at the Capitol building, I specifically thought to myself, parking is gonna be so easy today, intentionally. And it truly was. I mean, I live by this. So when I put that bad thought in my head, it played out. And then so I corrected myself the next time around. So I truly believe in this. And I think that, it's something, especially as Black women, when there are so many negative messages that are being directed towards us, we do have to be very intentional about our mindset. So I just appreciate what you do. And I appreciate the sentiments that you shared.
Thank you, Lakila.
Yeah.
It's so true. Sometimes it's easy to hear these type of talks and dismiss it as like, oh, that's just woo-woo thinking or whatever. But it's like, no, when you start to apply it, it's not woo-woo. And once you study neuroscience, you understand why it's not. Because the brain responds to certain things. And when you become aware of how to talk to your brain, how to activate your brain, it just opens up life in a different way. Something that you were saying, Antoinette, even in people's business, when you're wondering, how am I going to come up with the money for this, or how am I going to do that? Literally start talking to your brain, whether it be through journaling or just literally outside, like, all right, brain, we need to come up with a way to come across or generate $5,000 by the end of the month. Say it out loud, write it, remind, like, think of your brain as your personal assistant, and you need to tell your brain what you're looking for and what you want. And it's when you do those type of things, your brain will begin to point out, you could probably reach out to this person. You can probably do this and generate income. Those thoughts will begin to come because you've activated your brain and told your brain, this is what we're doing. I need you to kick in. I need you to be paying close attention. Have your antennas up when opportunities present themselves so you can flag them for me. But you gotta talk to your brain. This is why, if you don't understand the science behind affirmations and journaling, it does seem like it's just woo-woo, right? People are just writing things, visualizing or whatever. But when you understand the science behind it, that when you do these things, you're activating portions of your brain, and it's causing your brain to then become alert to pull in the things that you're telling your brain you want to pull in. Then it begins to make sense and you'll apply it more. Like, I am a daily journaler. I do my affirmations on a daily basis. In my mindset coaching, I talk about why your affirmations may not be working for you. And we talk about cognitive dissonance, why that can cause your affirmations to be more harmful than beneficial. I really want people to understand how their mind works, how the brain works, because it does change the way that you operate and will navigate your world.
I want to also add to that parking thing, because I am intentional when I say things to myself. So when I could drive into the most crowded parking lot and I say, you're going to be so lucky today. You're going to find a perfect spot. And do you know it happens? So it's almost like, I think our brain helps us manifest things. I really do, because it helps us work with the things that we don't understand in the universe, to manifest the things that we want to make possible for ourselves. So that's so important. Not think negative, like, oh, I'm never gonna. I'm like, oh, and I'm usually always lucky. I usually will go into the perfect spot.
Yep. I mean, even I'll be very, forward. Like, I am a person of faith. I'm a Christian, and even in scripture, it talks about, so a man thinketh, so he is. When I go into situations and I'm like, people are gonna like me, I'm gonna have favor with so many people going into this, I notice people respond to me in a different way. And it's because, one, I'm looking for people to respond to me in a positive way, because my brain is already on high alert. Like, you're looking for the pleasant interactions that you have with people. And then two, I'm carrying myself in a different way. I'm carrying myself with an expectation that when I go up to Mary's going to greet me and respond to me with warmth and a smile. I'm expecting it. And so my energy is projecting onto Mary, and she's bouncing it right back to me. So it's like, the way that you think, that's how you will show up. That's how people will receive you. So yeah, like, it's something that I definitely believe, even, in scripture where it talks about renewing your mind, to know your thoughts can literally change the physical makeup of your brain. That's what it means to renew your mind, literally make your brain new. start to erase those old thought patterns, those old neural pathways, and create new ones. I get excited about it because I think just the way that we are designed and created is absolutely amazing.
Mhm.
I just want everybody to tap into that.
And I want to give anybody else on the call, if you have a Shauna, Falana, Joyda, Lisa, Michelle, any input that you'd like to share, any questions that you have, Charmaine, for Charmaine.
I don't have any questions, but I really did enjoy her presentation because it was very thought-provoking, having me think about, like she said, the different areas in my life that, yes, I do struggle with and things like that. So I'm going to make a plan to be intentional to make sure that I do the journaling and just be more aware and conscious of the things that I do.
And I want to share that, thank you, Falana, because at WeOp, our intention, we wanted to have Charmaine come on as a partner and have like a mastermind mindset coaching group where what we can do is take a cohort of, I'm thinking maybe 10 ladies that really want to study this in depth and that want to commit to the, and Charmaine said 5-week mindset coaching series, to go ahead and go through the process to kind of keep you mentally and spiritually on tap with what you're trying to do in your businesses. So that's why we're kind of getting everybody's feedback and see if it would be useful and who would commit, because I think it would be great to get on the call, to just keep everybody like together and to do it at the first in January, to launch something. We could call it mastermind coaching, or Charmaine and I will get together, just offer it to our membership, basically.
I really like that idea.
Yeah, I'm sure the ladies on the call would like that. Just we can meet, like I said, if you do 5 weeks, Charmaine, do you do a weekly or do you do a monthly, or how does that work?
Oh no, weekly. I like to commit because I'll give you assignments throughout the week, and they're not super intense. Like it's nothing, you can still balance like your everyday schedule with the assignments, but I like to do it weekly where we have our meeting, and then there's something that I'll usually give you to kind of like work on throughout the week. And then when we meet again, we'll reflect on the assignment and move on to the next lesson.
So everybody's saying that they love it. Shauna, Lisa, Joyta, Lisa says she will participate, because we can begin with the people on this call, add a few more, and as we jump off in January, just do something at the beginning of the year. To Andrea, you would participate as well, right? Okay.
Oh yes, definitely. I'm like, how fortunate we are to even be in the room this evening, you know, to join in and to, you know, want to be engaged in this particular one and setting ourselves up for the opportunity to participate in such a dynamic opportunity.
And it's things that we don't always think about. And that's you kind of enlighten us, because like I said, there's a lot of things going on economically and personally, and just to be able to just like understand how we can guide our destiny with how we are mentally and spiritually. And that's so important. So that's why I thought this was, when I talked to Charmaine, I got excited. I was like, this would be great for our group. I love what you're talking about. The neuroscience behind the brain. Let's talk about it. Let's put it in a framework. And it could be a really core part of WeOp, where we do a session every quarter where we invite our ladies in to do the 5-week mindset coaching series that's going to keep them along their success track of business, you know, and that's so important, because we know we want a business to be successful, but there's so many other mental things that go along with making sure that we, from self-love to mental health, that we keep it together. So I think this would be really, really great.
Yeah, no, Antoinette, just let me know and we can discuss the details of it, but I would love to work with the ladies.
Okay, so because I know we're coming to the end of the call, and I want to thank everybody on the call. So what we're going to do is, everybody in this call who wants to participate, we'll send something out to you, and we only need a few more to go ahead and launch. We only ask that you stay committed to the process. So if you sign up, we ask that you stay committed for the 5 weeks, start to finish. And that way you can reach success for yourself. So I'm all in. And really excited, because I think this would be a great addition to what we do as an organization. And one thing I do like is that we can do it, keeping it virtual, because that way people can really participate. You know, we do have a location where we can meet in person, but I think if we do it virtually, it kind of makes sure that it expands when we do, because like tonight I had almost 30 people register. So I know we have a lot of interest. So what would be a good group size for you, Charmaine, that make sure that we don't dilute it?
Yeah, I mean, 10 is really good, like having a group of 10.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Anything larger, I feel like you said, it dilutes the discussion. Sometimes you don't get to hear from everyone. There's questions that come up during the sessions that I could go deeper with a smaller group versus if we have, 20, 25 people. So I'd
Okay.
like to keep it to about 10.
Okay, we'll do that. Okay, so we'll do that gives us something to look forward to in 2023, because I think we can launch, we call it our mastermind mindset coaching group. And we could do it in the evening, and we could launch it in January 2023. Everybody's saying sounds good. Yes, great, I'm in, etc. So we'll make sure that everybody, and let me do a screen capture. I can make sure that I send it out to just the people on the call. 1 second. Hold on a minute. Okay, so I'm sending this out to just the people on the call. And also let you know that we are doing an end of the year event. We're doing a holiday party on December 8th. So I'll be sending it to some special people on the call as well at Bloomingdale's, our end of the year holiday party. So with that said, we're almost right at 6:58. Anybody have any parting words, anything they want to share with us? Charmaine, it looked like you stalled for a second. Are you still there?
Yeah, can you see me?
I see you, but okay, you can. You were stalled for 1 second.
Oh, okay.
Oh, somebody said, is there a holiday guidebook? We don't have a holiday guidebook yet for our businesses. That's something that we may want to look at, maybe a directory. Oh, Jordan, let me write down your email so I can email you. JOYOTIAT@OMSUTRA.com. We had a great conversation about manufacturing at the beginning of the call. So I'm gonna reach out. Joy, I'm gonna reach out to you as well.
Yeah, thank you, Anton. And yeah, what's the date you're having that event? December?
Oh, December the 8th. It's gonna be an in-person event. I think. What city are you in, Georgia? What city are you in?
I'm in Long Island, New York.
Okay, you're in New York. Okay, so you won't be able to attend.
And we'll mail about your invitation.
How about you guys have any virtual kind of thing? Like I can send some a discount coupon for my website, if that makes sense.
Okay, your website is OMSUTRA, right?
Yeah, so I can give a special a code for this network. So it will be a special discount and a special gift with that.
Okay, send it to me. And
Okay.
I put my email in. Anybody wants to reach out to me at ball.a@weop.org. And also, Charmaine, I don't know if you want to leave your email. I know you're gonna be working with us. And if anybody has any questions, you want to put your email in the chat box as well.
Yeah, I'll drop it in the chat now.
Okay. Oh, hey, Lisa. Lisa, turn the camera on. Hey, Lisa. I love people turn their cameras on. At least you can see faces. Hey. Oh, hey, Falana, how you doing? Okay, and I'm inviting everybody to our party.
There we go.
Okay, great.
We hope to see you guys December. We'll see you guys December 8th.
Oh, wait a minute. Who's that? Hey, Georgia. Hey, Georgia. Hi. Everybody's on great.
Yes. I just want to say thank you so much. This was exactly what I needed.
Yeah, I think
Exactly. It's right on time.
Yeah, like Charmaine said, close-knit community, you interact well. So I really feel then I thought, okay, let me come on the camera.
Okay, great. It's always nice to see faces. And Charmaine's such a good speaker. I really enjoy her messaging, her wording. She's really, really good. Every time she speaks, I'm inspired.
Yeah, I totally agree with manifesting. It happens with me, if I decide on something, and you keep thinking, it really gets manifest and it happens. So that is the positivity, that you have in the book Secret.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll be in person on December the 8th. Hope to see you guys on December the 8th at Bloomingdale's. We'll be in person. We can do some
Oh, wow. Oh, that would be nice.
Virtual atmosphere, yeah. So we can have and do makeup demonstrations and talk about style and fashion. We're gonna have some fun and get a chance to network with everyone in person.
And we only
Wow.
have a few choice, we're only inviting about 50 ladies. So,
I think about 40. We're gonna keep it down. We'll give you swag bags. So look forward to seeing everybody in person on December the 8th at Bloomingdale's in Lenox Mall.
Wow. Oh, thank you.
you're more than welcome. Okay, so we are going to say goodbye, and until next time, thank you, ladies.
Nice seeing everybody's
And
face.
Charmaine, thank you. You did a great presentation. We
Oh, I
really appreciate
know.
you.
Thank you. It was a